Simply Financial with Christopher Calandra, Certified Financial Planner, is an innovative, comprehensive, informative, and cutting-edge podcast that discusses financial topics ranging from personal finance, economics, politics, and personal growth. Simply Financial will cover intriguing and thought-provoking questions so that the listener can simply increase their financial IQ.
Welcome to the Simply Financial podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. This is episode 26 of season number 3. On today's episode, I have a special guest. Of course, all of my guests are special, but this is one of my favorite people in the world. My daughter, Marissa, asked to come on the show. Hopefully you've listened to all of the Simply Financial episodes. But recently, for the first time ever, I did a 5-part series, Battle of the Sexes. I did 3 episodes with my wife, Joelle. The first 2 talking about money in a relationship and marriage. Then later on in the 5-part series, we did an episode about kids and money. I also did 2 episodes with Lindy Brock from Elliott Wealth Management Services, and she and I talked about money in relationships, and then also talked about, in a separate episode, money and kids. And so my daughter, who's an avid listener of the Simply Financial podcast, said, hey, I want to come on. There's some things that you guys talked about that I agree with, some things that I disagree with. So I didn't really have any choice. Wanted to have her on the show. Thanks for sitting with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And so just to set the stage, Marissa is 18, soon to be 19. She just finished her freshman year at college. It was a successful year, especially academically. And she has been working for a while and is also helping here with Elliott Wealth Management Services over her summer break between freshman and sophomore year. So did you enjoy listening to Mom and I talk on the Battle of the Sexes?
Yeah, I think it was definitely weird at first because I'm so used to talking to you guys in person, so hearing it, over the phone was definitely something very different for me. I was listening with headphones. I was actually on vacation, and my friends were kind of making fun of me. I tend to be a lot like my dad and enjoy some things that people might call nerdy, and so the 3 of us are by the pool in Florida, and we were all listening to music, but I was sitting there listening to my parents' podcast, but I thought it was really cool, and I also think it's really interesting to hear you and Mom talking about business and finances, especially because that's what I'm interested in college.
So I know you had presented me with some notes and thoughts, kind of an outline for us to work off of here this morning as we record this. But can you think of anything that kind of surprised you as you were listening? And you listened to the episodes with Lindy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So across any of the 5 episodes, is there anything that jumps out that surprised you?
I think something that seemed surprising to me was how you and Mom tended to kind of almost disagree a little bit on my take on money and how I deal with it. I mean, I think overall you guys know me very well, but it was definitely interesting for me to hear you guys, I guess, had a little bit of different thoughts.
Different perspectives.
On how I use my money, my view on money.
Okay. Which brings us to one of the things that I know you wanted to get on the record. One of the things, and for those of you listening, I would refer you back to the Battle of the Sexes series, which is season 3 of the Simply Financial podcast, and it's episodes 20 through 24. But one of the things that your mom and I talked about, what Joelle and I talked about, was that we believe that you're more of a natural spender, and Dominic, your brother, my son, who is younger, is more of a saver, and you had some thoughts about that.
I think for the most part that tends to be true. I think I've gotten better over especially the past year or so with just kind of being aware of where my money goes. I was one of the first of my friends to work. I've always been, out of my friends, one of the ones who worked the most and tended to have the most understanding, I think, of money for a while. I like to spend my money. I like to go out to eat. I love to go shopping. My dad calls my closet a boutique. So I have always enjoyed that, but I do think since attending my business classes and talking with my parents, I've definitely increased my understanding about money, and I feel like I've gotten better.
Okay, and I think one of the things that you had written down, which I could appreciate, is that you pointed out that Dominic is more of a natural saver, but when he spends money, he tends to spend money on bigger ticket items. So it's less frequently, but more expensive. And it's funny that you had written that down, because I have similar conversations with your mom about this, because I will not spend money much. I could go days without spending money, and if I have some cash in my pocket, I could go quite a while and not spend any money. But when I do spend money, I can do some damage. So, for example, shopping for clothes. I'll go a long time without shopping for clothes, but then one day I may go and I'll buy all kinds of stuff, and it'll be a pretty big tally. But for many, many days, I'm able to say, yeah, I don't spend a lot of money, but I can make up for it in one day shopping. And you pointed that out between you and Dominic. You're more frequent shopper and spend money on more days than he does. But when he gets in the game and he spends money, it could be a pretty big ticket item.
Yeah, and I also think the things that he chooses to spend money on are very different than me. For example, I will jump right at a shirt that I see that I like, or, a new shade of lip gloss that came out, or coming up with a plan with my friends if we wanted to go out to eat. But when it comes to other things, like I have one speaker that I use. I have one Bluetooth speaker. I've had it for years. But my brother tends to always go shopping on Amazon. And every couple months he sees a new Bluetooth speaker that he wants. He sees a new pair of headphones, something like that. So I think that those are larger ticket items and he buys them less frequently. But spending, $50 to $100 on a speaker or AirPods, every few months, as opposed to my buying a $10 shirt and a lip gloss, or going out to dinner and spending $20 every few days. I think while I do spend more, there are different types of spending that we choose to do.
Okay, and one of the areas, well said, one of the areas that you had written some notes down that you kind of agreed with us, and I know you and I especially have talked about this topic, the topic of debt and credit cards and loans. So what are your thoughts on that as an 18-year-old I guess you're a sophomore in college now, about debt and credit cards from your vantage point?
I've had a debit card since I was, 16? I think when I started my job at the Y, we opened an account.
Yes.
So I've had a debit card for about 3 years now. I've always, when I was in school, in my high school senior year, I had a rule that I would not let my bank account get below $500.
Okay.
And then as I started to work my second job later in the year, I created a rule for myself that I would not let it go below $1,000. And for the most part, I stayed pretty true to that. I tried my best to stay with those goals and to not go below my account. And I think that that was a really good goal for me, and it taught me. In college, it was different. I wasn't working as much. But I believe that if I had a credit card, I don't believe that I would go into debt. I tend to watch my money, and I think that it's something that's valuable to have. I think it's a good thing to have an experience with as well.
So you developed those minimum thresholds. That's not something that I imparted to you or Mom, right? This is something you created on your own that would work for you.
I don't believe that you even knew about that until now.
I don't think so. But that is a form of budgeting. It's a way that you put upon yourself discipline as far as, I'm going to keep this amount or above, and then when it's above that amount, you do give yourself some freedom to enjoy your money. But when it gets to your self-imposed threshold, you either need to work more or cut back on your spending.
Yes.
So that's a really, really good life skill. Believe it or not, I've met lots and lots of people over my 26-year career, Marissa, that, haven't employed any type of discipline like that. And what you're doing specifically might work for some, won't work for others. But that discipline, that purposefulness with your money will really help you achieve a lot. So that's a good life lesson. And you don't have a credit card, you use the debit card, but do you feel that if you had a credit card, you said this already, that if you had a credit card, you would be responsible with it?
I do. I think something that I even suggested to you and Mom was that building a credit score early, people say it all the time, and it's a lot of different things you hear from teachers and you hear from parents and you hear from commercials and banks and stores, different ideas about a credit card and whether or not they should be used by younger adults. But I think that it's important for me to kind of understand the responsibility that comes with it. I cannot go to the store and spend $400 every week just because I have the credit card. I think if I had a credit card, I've talked about possibly using it to buy gas once a month and then just keeping it in a drawer just to be exposed to the credit card and the idea of debt and paying things off monthly without having the ability to go above and beyond my means.
Okay. And just to catch listeners up, is the deal that Marissa and I have worked out, and it's, Joelle is involved in this, but I think this is something that Marissa and I have talked about, is that while she's in college, I have requested of her, now she's increasingly moving toward adulthood, and if you're listening there and you're a parent, you could appreciate that she's not 10 anymore, and I can't tell her what to do in the same way as when she's 18, and it'll be even different when she's 21 years and older. Is that what we've worked out is don't take on any debt while you're in school. Don't buy a car with a loan. Don't use credit card. Deal with the credit score later and just get through school without using debt. And that's what I've asked of her, and she's been agreeable. It's not because I think you'd be irresponsible with money, but do you find examples, because maybe I'm biased, you're my daughter, and maybe because I'm a financial geek, some of it runs off on you, is do you find with your friends, have you seen instances where you think maybe they're being irresponsible with money, perhaps with credit cards, or have you not come across that yet?
I've come across friends who I believed were irresponsible with their parents' money. I don't believe that I've come across friends who I would call irresponsible with their own money.
Okay.
I know friends that carry around, both at home and at school, their parents' credit card in their pocket. I know kids who easily just text their parents and say, "Hi, can you transfer money into my account?" And they easily do so, and then they will go spend money on something that I believe to be slightly irresponsible.
Okay.
However, in my small circle of people that I hung out with, I don't believe that anyone off the top of my head was actually very irresponsible without money.
Okay, good. And you also had some thoughts, because we talked about in several of the episodes, both your mom and I, as well as Lindy and I, talking about, working as a high schooler into college. And I know many of your friends work, but still others have not worked. Even some that are in college have yet to hold a job. And we don't want to be judgmental because everybody's different. Every family situation is different. But can you talk a little bit about what work has meant for you and why you feel it's important as you develop into an adult and will enter into the full-time workforce within a few years?
So I believe the first job that I had was the YMCA, at least the first legit 16 and older paying job. And I remember the day that I turned 16, I told Mom that I wanted to go find a job. And we drove up and down the main street in our town, and I picked up applications and I filled them out, handed them in. I was so excited. I got my first job, and I remember sitting down at the bank and creating my checking account with my debit card, and I just remember thinking, like, this is so cool, I feel so adult, this is awesome. And I think at first I went a little overboard in my spending. If I remember correctly, you and Mom had to add to my account because I went below what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Within the first week or two.
The minimums that the bank has.
Yes.
Okay.
And then after that, I think I was responsible. I didn't work much, it wasn't many hours, and then later in the year I asked my parents, I asked you and Mom, if I could get another job, and you guys said as long as you keep your grades up and you keep working hard and doing the right thing, we support that. We understand you want more money. And after that, I really started to enjoy working. I picked up shifts when I could while still being able to have fun with my friends and do other things. But I genuinely do enjoy working in all the jobs that I've had. I think that there's something really cool about being able to make money and be able to choose what you want to do with it. I take a lot of pride in the money that I make, and I enjoy doing things with my friends and shopping for myself, shopping for my family and my friends for holidays and all that. And I think it's rewarding, and I think that I almost feel bad for the kids that don't have that experience, because I think it teaches you a lot. It really prepares you for the future.
Do you think, and I'm just curious, do you think that you're studying business, and who knows what degree you'll ultimately graduate with, but it seems like it's going to be a business degree. Do you find that your experience working, and you've worked in restaurants, you've worked in an office setting, you worked in childcare, so you've already at 18 had a few different work environments. Did you find your freshman year that helped you at all in terms of the coursework?
I don't know if I would say in terms of the coursework. However, I think it helped me in terms of time management and just being responsible. I think because I always worked, I was very careful about how I spent my money when I got to college, and for a while I didn't have any income coming in, and I was cautious about my spending. But I think that working and having multiple jobs taught me a lot about time management. It helped me understand timelines and deadlines and what hours I do my best work in. So maybe not in terms of coursework, in terms of the homework and the tests and everything, but just kind of having an adult-like understanding of this is the time that I have, this is what I have to do. I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to organize my time and try and get the best results that I can.
Those are great life skills, and I'm glad you said that, because my follow-up question was going to be on the time management side. I think your business experiences working will translate more into coursework as you get deeper into your business classes, whereas as a freshman, a lot of your courses were foundational, core curriculum. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. So, so far in the conversation, looking at your notes, these are areas that largely we agreed on that you wanted to provide some additional insights into. But there were some other areas that you how would I say, disagree, not so much disagree, but had an alternative viewpoint on. And so one of the things your mom and I talked about is sharing information with kids. What's age appropriate to share with about money, whether it's spending habits, debt, income, assets, things like that. And I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that you find us to be more secretive than you would prefer. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think there's a lot of times that I remember growing up where we were all in the kitchen or in the living room, or, in the morning we would come down into your office. You and Mom would often be in there in the mornings, and you guys would say to me or Dominic, hey guys, we're having a conversation right now. Can you go somewhere else in the house? We'll come out in a few minutes and talk to you. I remember a lot of circumstances throughout the past 18 years of my life that you guys were having conversations. We stepped into the environment that you were in, and you guys just said, hey, we're having a conversation here. Do you mind just giving us a few minutes? We'll be out in a few. And that happened a lot. And I think as I got older, I almost feel like it got more, I don't want to say secretive, but you guys made somewhat of an effort to make sure that I can't speak for Dominic, was not around and was not able to hear your conversations regarding money and the business and finances.
So when Lindy and I spoke, it was great because it's a contrast. Lindy and I we work great together, and we have an awesome relationship work-wise as well as friendship. And it was really terrific for her and I to talk, because in so many ways, the way we handle money with our spouses is with our children is so different. And she's way more open with her 2 children. So her daughter's a little younger than you, and her son's a little older than Dominic. So similar ages, they're kind of bracketed together. And so let me ask you this. What would you want to know that you don't know? And so that would be the first question. I mean, what I wouldn't describe us as secretive, but I think private is more of a word that I would use.
I would agree.
And I would agree that we are that way. But, we're first-time parents. You're our oldest. We don't really know what we're doing. My parents were super secretive. Joelle's parents were super secretive, or private, not to use the secretive word. So what would you want to know?
I don't know. I never really thought about it because I was never exposed to it. I mean, I think I have no idea how much you make. And I know Mom has been more of a stay-at-home mom throughout the years. She helps a lot within Elliott Wealth,
sure,
while doing some other things on the side. So I don't think her income is shown as much in numbers as much as
okay,
what she's done for you.
Okay.
But in terms of you, I have no idea how much money comes into our household on a monthly, yearly, quarterly basis.
Okay, so here's my question, because you wrote down, you guys have been more secretive than I would have liked. And again, that was in response to my conversation with your mom when we did the podcast, and then probably in response to my conversation with Lindy, where she expressed how much more open she is with her son and daughter. Why would you need to know that? In other words, what would that do for you?
I think we've been very blessed. I don't know if we've ever had a lot of financial struggles where we've ever been at the point where we were not doing well or we were in jeopardy of not living the life that we are blessed to live. But I think as you get older, sometimes parents want to hide struggles from kids. And I think I'm at the point where if we ever were in financial trouble or were in jeopardy of being in financial trouble, I think I would want to be aware because it would change my lifestyle.
Okay.
It would change, my going to school, my shopping, my car,
Okay.
And I also think that this might be different if you had a child who was going into the medical field or to teaching. But because of my business interest, I think it's stuff that genuinely interests me, and I think that I would really enjoy hearing about how you guys built up your finances, how you guys chose to invest your money, not necessarily on a numbers basis of what exactly the numbers are, but just the strategies that you guys used, how you made your decisions, why you made those decisions, what you guys hope for me in the future.
So listeners, that was a pretty good answer, no? Wow. I think I'm convinced that I should be less private. That was pretty good. I think that's very fair, and maybe not on the podcast, but I could share some because we had a lot of decisions to make over the course of a lifetime of marriage. That sounded bad. We'll be married 26 years in August, and so there's been a lot of decisions about my career, whether I would work for somebody or to be independent, and I've been in different business models, and some of those have been really terrific. Others have been mistakes, and we have had hardships, and we've had a lot of decisions we've had to make, forks in the road, and also with your mom, who has an unbelievable college degree, and the decision-making involved with her giving up her career to be more of a stay-at-home mom, not because she didn't have good choices, but because of what she wanted to choose to do family-wise. And, as a small business owner, there have been lean times. We've never been where we were at risk of living in a car or losing our house or being evicted, but there's certainly been difficult times, especially when mistakes were made. And so I think sharing that family history with you makes sense because you're going to be faced some way, shape, or form with similar instances because most of us are. There's obstacles, there's hardships, we're all going to make mistakes. So again, your answer was a great one. Moving along, another thing that you had mentioned was that we said you weren't investing yet, and you wanted to get on the record that
I am investing.
She began investing, and
the day of my 18th birthday, I begged you to let me invest.
Okay, and just listeners, I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the business 26 years. I've helped people win with money the entirety of my career. But you decided to open up an app. It's
Yes.
Robinhood, right?
Yes.
And where did you get the idea from? From your father?
No.
No. Who'd you get the idea from?
I don't even remember. It was someone that I went to high school with that told me about it.
Yeah, it was somebody from
Somebody
DECA?
from DECA. I don't remember who.
Okay. And so as soon as she turned 18, she decided to open up one of these online investing accounts that really is meant to accommodate people that are just starting out and have small amounts of money to invest. I imagine you could invest more amounts, but their target market is smaller amounts of money. And there is a flaw with Robinhood, though, right? Because what do you have to give up to use Robinhood?
It's like the privacy on your phone. I think they can kind of, I don't want to say track your phone, but
it's pretty invasive. You're giving away a lot of your privacy because they want to collect the data to help them market that data to generate revenue. And so they'll offer a nice platform, small investment amounts. It's very low cost, but you are trading privacy, and it's user friendly. And there are a few versions of this out there, not that I'm endorsing any of them, but she decided to use Robinhood. There's also Stash. There's Acorn. There might be a couple of others, but I think those are the big three.
I would like to say, though, while I am using Robinhood, and I think will continue to use it. I haven't been investing lately, actually, but will continue to use it throughout college. But I do think that when the time comes that I'm ready to start playing around with some bigger amounts of money, that I will turn to my dad, the financial planner, and find out some better ways to invest.
No, I was saying that jokingly. I think it's good because it worked out great. I appreciate that explanation, but there's nothing wrong with it. It works out really, really well. And so kind of as we wrap up, is there anything that you had wanted to cover or talk about that we haven't already?
I think a little bit on the topic of allowances, just because that's something I think that's been trial and error in our house a few times.
So before you begin, just to catch everyone up, go back and listen to episodes 20 through 24 of Season 3. You'll get more information about the conversation I had with my wife, Joelle, as well as my discussion with Lindy. But in my household, with my kids, we didn't use a formal allowance system. We never did. And in Lindy's household, she does, especially today, have a pretty evolved, multi-layered allowance program with her two kids, and it works really, really great for them. We never did that with Marissa. Dominic is only 13 as of this recording, and we haven't done it with him. We have no plans to do so, so we've done things differently than Lindy. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think Dominic was more interested in an allowance than I ever was. I think I tried it a few times, and it never stuck. I remember there were a couple weeks when I was younger where I remember getting some money. I think at an early age, I was like, this is not worth it. I think I remember coming up with like a little chore chart or something, and I did a couple chores around the house, and then Mom gave me like $5, and I think I looked at her, and I was like, no thanks, I'm going back upstairs. And realizing that I did not like cleaning enough for $5. But I think that we were always taught to do your part around the house, kind of like what you and Mom had said on the podcast. If you do what you have to do, Dad and I will help you out. If you need money to go do something, we're happy to help as long as you're doing your part. And I think for us that always worked well. If Mom or you asked me to do something around the house, while it was not always happily, I think I was pretty good at doing my part. And I think as I've grown up, I've realized that, as long as I respect you guys and I respect your rules and I do my parts and I keep my room clean, I take care of the dog, that if I need something, if I need your guys' help or I need some money, that, you're happy to do it.
So it was never a specific tit-for-tat relationship, but just more of the macro picture that you're part of the family, you're part of the team, there's things that need to get done, and if you're a productive part of the team and you do all the things that the team needs, that it'll be fine. If you need money for a class trip or to go with your friends or to go to a concert, or when it came time buying a vehicle for yourself, all those things that would all work out, but it was never a specific plan.
And I think also the transition from, Lindy said in hers, when she started this allowance with her kids, she said to them, okay, well, I'm not going to be paying for stuff anymore. Now it's you guys if you want to go to the movies, if you want to go. I don't remember the specifics of it, but, we never had that exact transition in our house. I think slowly over time, you guys stopped giving me money to go to the movies. I stopped asking for money to go out to dinner. And I think that it was at least very effective for me to kind of slowly make that transition, weaning off of yours and Mom's money onto my own. I think it helped me understand money. It helped me grow and kind of appreciate the value of a dollar as I slowly transitioned from, you handing me a 20 to go to the movies and me handing you the $5 and change, versus me using my 20 to go to movies and then realizing, oh, well, now I'm $15 short. And I think that it happened slowly and it happened over time, but I do think that definitely benefited me.
Awesome. Very good. So you were probably a little nervous because you've never done media like this. I've tried to get you on my radio station that's broadcast locally here in Hartford County, Connecticut. But you did great. You seemed pretty comfortable. Were you nervous or not so much once we got into it a bit?
I was nervous.
Good. Well, you did great. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I'll be back with you on an upcoming episode very soon. But in the meantime, Elliott Wealth Management Services, go to the website, www.elliottwealth.com. You could subscribe to this podcast. I'd appreciate that. If you're not a client of ours and you would like to find out how we might be able to help you win with money, you can sign up for a complimentary consultation where we could discuss how we work with our clients, and we could find out about you to see if we're a good match. So please take advantage of that. Additionally, at the website, we have a monthly mailing list that you could sign up for. That is no cost as well. Thanks again. I'll be back with you soon.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.
Simply Financial is part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find Exvadio podcasts at exvadio.com/podcast, the Apple Podcasts app, iTunes Store, iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. So join us and stay informed and entertained.